It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World podcast. We are here with Russell Pate. Russell's been a guest on the show 2 times before. This is his 3rd one. Russell, how's it going today?
Going great, Chris. It's good to be with you again. I've got some exciting information to share with you today.
Yeah, I'm really excited about today. We're going to get very specific, and you are going to detail the 10 points to consider when going to the store to buy shoes, right? So that people will have a better understanding of what to look for, what's important, and then hopefully get a better fitting shoe for their feet.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
And then just for people who didn't catch your last episode, because I think this is really important, because this is not just about your feet. We talked last time about how your feet affect everything, all the way up the chain to your back, your neck. So potentially, even if you don't think you have foot issues, this could be a very important episode for you. So Russell, I know you have a presentation, so go ahead and take it away.
When you go to the store, it's more than just about the fashion of the shoe or what the shoe looks like. You want it to be able to fit. And so what we're going to be going through in this episode is looking at how to get great fitting shoes. So the first thing to realize when you're buying shoes is shoes are not a standard size. So it's just like I wear a large T-shirt, but sometimes I wear an extra large. I'm not any different sizes, but the shoes are the same way. So that if you wear for a woman, you wear a size 8.5, depending on the shoes, sometimes you may wear a 9 or different sizes. So you want to try on different size shoes. So just because there's a number, it doesn't mean they're all exactly the same size. So that's the first tip to really be looking. Second, you want to get your feet measured. This little device here is called a Braddock device. If you go to the self-serve shoe stores, you're really not, a lot of times you're just buying the same shoes. I mean, it may happen to you, Chris. You go in, you say, hey, want to buy the same, size 11 or something. But over time, your feet change. And so you want to get your feet measured on a regular basis. And then there's some other things that we'll go in here in a little bit further that shows a little bit more. It's more than just the length of your foot that we want to be looking at. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, when you came to my office, we went over all these things. And so the other thing that you want to do is that you want, before you even look at the size and the width of the shoe, you want to match the shape. So if you have kind of a square, a Fred Flintstone, type foot, obviously it wouldn't fit in this shoe on the right. It would not fit it. It would be tight. So a lot of times the shoe manufacturers give us the deception that every shoe is for every foot, and the size does matter, and how the shape, or I should say the shape does matter. The fourth one is when you shop, try on different variety of styles. It's really important to try the shoes on, look and see, because not only do you want them to look good, you want them to be comfortable. And so often people just, and men are as bad as women, but they're just trying, kind of trying on the same, they have a shoe that they want and they're willing to have it be a little bit too tight. If it's too tight in the store, if you're wearing it for 6-8 hours, it's definitely going to end up, having a problem.
Got it.
Yep. This is another thing that people think that your shoes, a lot of times Chris, people think their shoes need to be right up against the edge of the shoes. And you actually need to have about, as it says here, 3/8 to 1/2 inch of room, because when your foot hits the ground, your shoe actually slides, in there.
probably a little wider than that.
A little wider than, you don't want to be quite that much, but you want some room in the shoes. A lot of times, and probably the worst people that do this, and I understand, is the soccer players, because they're using their feet to feel, and so they don't like to have that extra.
Yeah. I remember I played soccer up through probably 15 years old, and it was always, the soccer cleats are the worst. They just kind of mash your foot up.
Right. And and you don't want to mash your foot. So, I mean, there's a give and take, with that. Soccer people, I kind of make an exception to, but for regular shoes, this is really what we're, looking at. So the 6, and I think I made this point when you came in to see me, Chris, is that you also want to, with the ball of your foot is where the ball of your big toe is where the shoe's the widest. And you want the widest part of the foot to be in the widest part of the shoe. And that a little bit goes back to that measuring device I was showing earlier, that you can actually find out where the ball of the foot sits. Because sometimes some people have longer toes and some people have shorter toes, and that changes the fit of the shoe. So you also want to consider where that bends, and that's where your foot bends, and that's where the shoes bend. Does that make?
Got it. So you're basically lining up. You're just like you said with the shape. You're also lining up the bend of the shoe with the bend of your foot.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and so a lot of people don't understand that, and most people don't, fit shoes that way, and it can really be critical, especially in sports shoes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The 7th point is you want the heels to not slip, okay? And if the shoe is slipping, you probably just need a different style, instead of wearing quite often, women do or men do with slip-on shoes, is they get tighter and tighter and tighter until they're the heel doesn't move. But that doesn't always, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice if you're doing that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That so I noticed this person doesn't have socks. What do you think about not wearing socks? Is that a thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the cool hip thing now, or the low socks and no socks inside. The thing is, if you're going to perspire and you're going to get your shoes a little stinky. But
I noticed here too, though, if you look at the inside of her ankle, she has a little kind of like a little welt there, or like like a blister, right?
Blister. Yep. Yeah, I picked that. It does. You're right. And so you do get some friction, with that. So, the whole no shoe thing is kind of, or no socks thing is kind of a very fashion statement, but you do end up creating some friction inside your foot.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you played sports, Chris. It's the socks and how your feet fit is really important.
Yeah.
So, all right. And then when you go to put the orthotics or inserts, into your shoes, you want the best one is to get shoes where the insoles come out. Most sports shoes, the footbed comes out. And then if you're putting an orthotic in there, you want the orthotic to be the same thickness as what you take out. So it really doesn't change the shape of the shoe. Sometimes if you're putting into like a dress shoe or something, like some have footbeds that come out, some don't have footbeds that come out. And so if you have a shoe that doesn't have a footbed, you definitely want to bring your orthotic with you to make sure that the orthotic fits in the shoe comfortably.
Makes sense. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're not making it smaller because your orthotic is too big or anything like that.
Right, and the orthotic is actually going to be lifting your foot up, especially in the middle of your foot, lifting it up, and so you don't want to have the shoe be too tight.
Got it. Cool. All right, number 9.
Okay, so you want to choose the appropriate shoes for the activity that you're doing. I mean, when used to think, they had all these different shoes, one for tennis, one for basketball, one for running. And there is a difference between those different shoes and different activities. So you do want to choose, the right shoe. And I've had a few clients come in that, end up walking in kind of, casual shoes, this whole COVID thing going on, more people are getting out and walking now. And they don't have the right shoes. And so that ends up causing problems if you're walking and doing exercise in shoes that aren't the right ones.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
And then the very last one is walking shoes. You want to make sure that they're comfortable. You should spend some time, in the store, walking around and seeing the shoes. And I highly recommend, if you're buying them from a store, have ones that you can take home, at least wear around your house for an hour or, two. So if they are uncomfortable, you can return them. I make the same kind of comparison, when we go to and we buy a mattress, we lay on it for, in the store for a few minutes, but we really can't tell until we really sleep on it for, 8 hours. And it's the same thing with shoes, because I have so many clients that come and they end up buying shoes that aren't comfortable for them. And we've all done it. I mean, we all end up having, have these shoes in our closet that we never wear because they really aren't all that. So.
Yeah. And it's like you said, you lay down on the mattress for a minute and then you think that's the one. Same thing in the shoe store. I think one thing that probably comes up for people is, you don't want to take so much time and, take everybody else's time. So no, I need to walk around in these for an hour, might seem like overkill at the time, but sounds like that's really what it takes, or maybe not an hour, but 10 minutes, maybe walking around and see how it feels. And
well, definitely doing that in the store, and then look and see what their return policy is with the store. If you're ordering online, I mean, obviously then there's most of them have return policies and you can wear them. But if it's in the store, you can, say, hey, can I walk around? Most stores, if you don't wear them outside, they'll return them. But you want to make sure that you have that option to return them. So.
Got it.
Any questions from that, Chris?
No, I think that's good. But on that note, if anybody watching this has questions, ask in the comment section down below, and I'll forward the question to Russell and he can answer it. If you are in the Bay Area and you are interested in this, I highly recommend going to check out Russell. Again, Dublin, California. You see it there. He did the shoe fitting with me. He went in. We checked out my arches. He analyzed that. He was right on with knowing that I have flat feet. My arches are collapsed. And then he basically molded a custom orthotic for me. So a few weeks later, I went back and got that. I've been walking in those for, what has it been? 3 weeks?
3 weeks, about 3 weeks, I think.
And they're great. The shoes, these shoes that I've been wearing for a while, all of a sudden, just so much more comfortable. Yeah,
thank you.
They're great. So I can't recommend you enough. Anybody who's anywhere near the Bay Area, go check them out. So in summary, I'm really again, thank you, Russell, for coming out. And again, just really highly recommend going to check out what Russell does. It's amazing. Again, last podcast episode, I talked about this, that all my back issues, I'm fairly certain that they all started with my feet, because I started spraining my ankles when I was 13, 14, playing basketball. And it wasn't long after that I started to develop lower back issues. So, the feet are the foundation. What you do is like pouring a better foundation for your skyscraper. And so I appreciate that, Russell. Any final thoughts on this, or?
No, I would just tell people that, really, when you go shopping and, for shoes, and especially if you're going to the store, or even if you order them online, take some time, when you're buying the shoes. I mean, the shoes are not cheap these days. I mean, you're spending, $80, $100, sometimes as much as $200, to take some time. And so you're not rushing it. because you want to get the right fit, because most people have their shoes for many years to come, and you want to just make good purchases, and spend your money well.
Great. All right. Well, Russell, Pate, thank you so much for joining us today on Health in the Real World podcast. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.